Dr. Bonnie is a senior master coordinator. That means that she's earned over $3,000 in commissions in a 4-week pay cycle. She is also a health professional. She is a nurse turned naturopathic doctor. And Bonnie, if you can briefly tell your story, because I don't want to take away time from your product hack, but if you could briefly get all of that out for us, I would so appreciate it.
Oh, thanks, Beth and Pip, and thanks, Eric, too, as well. That was a great. Thanks for sharing. I am just honored to be on your call with you tonight. Briefly, real short, I was an RN for 25 years and worked in the emergency room and intensive care areas, and you really get to know families. It's a whole family approach when someone's that sick. And people, they would leave and come back 6 months later sicker, and it was just this vicious cycle. Nobody was getting any better. So that just pushed me to find why. There has to be other ways of helping the body heal and not continue its disease process. And that's when I went back to school and got my doctorate in natural medicine. And I had my own practice with 12 other practitioners working with me. And I was on a mission for vitamin D because I know the significance vitamin D's role is in our body. It's really a hormone and a precursor to so many things to help us get well. And I originally was in upstate New York, and we would see sun about 6 days a month. And our summer was like the week of July 4th. And we just joke about how we're really severely deficient with vitamin D. Just to give you an example, our levels should be between 80 and 100. And in upstate New York, my patients' levels were between 9 and 12. So I knew we had a severe deficiency going on and started to do my own experiment and research with everyone's permission to find a vitamin D supplement. And over the course of 2 years, I was getting very frustrated because I couldn't find anything that would really raise vitamin D levels until I was introduced to the isotonic form of vitamin D. And within 60 days, I had my patients' levels up to the 40, 50, 60 levels and, started to see drastic changes in people's health. So I'm a real big proponent in not only vitamin D, but our whole isotonic line because it's just so powerful. So that's a real short, condensed version.
That is the short, condensed. I'm actually going to ask you a question because we have a number of very good product people on the call, so I'd like to just ask you, could you just talk a little bit about, in terms of our vitamin D, the level of the amount that's in it in regards to it being isotonic and why the amounts are in it and they're not as high as what maybe the doctor is recommending, things like that?
Well, our vitamin D actually is a great blend of ingredients. Synergistically, with the K2 in it, we're going to get better calcium absorption and more magnesium. I mean, it's just a great blend. It's not just vitamin D, and it's going to be 95% bioavailable for the body to use, which is critical because pills and capsules and stuff, especially with D, you're not going to get the absorption, and that's why I was having such a hard time getting my patients' levels up to where they needed to be. Does that answer your question?
Very much so, and that's exactly what I wanted, is because a lot of times, you guys, what will happen is people will say, well, my doctor recommended this much, and your product doesn't have that, and you really have to be able to explain to them they're recommending that high amount because they know that a pill or capsule is not going to deliver, or even the liquids that are on the market are not going to deliver the potency that an Isotonix is going to deliver. So like what you just talked about, the 95% absorption, it's going to be bioavailable at 90 to 95%, you guys, which means that what is in our product is being delivered. And not only that, with having the K2 with it and the calcium, it is actually getting the vitamin D utilization going. And that's huge, and that's why she's seeing these grand results. It's amazing. I thank you so much for sharing that, so that we would be able to get that information out to people, and because that's great knowledge that a lot of people don't have access to, other than if they get to come to your product training. So we appreciate you doing that last week, because I know a couple people on the call were able to be there, and they got a lot out of it. So thank you.
Oh, you're welcome, and that's why it's important for people to get to trainings too.
That's right, because we get, like Eric said at the beginning, we get more knowledge as we go along, but when we start, we don't have all of that, and even when we go and we start getting knowledge, it's kind of like sometimes getting it with a fire hose. So it can be a lot, but the thing is, each time you go back, that it's like Jocelyn said when she first got on the call tonight, I'm sure I'll take away something, because it doesn't matter. I mean, 20-plus years of doing this business, and I could tell you I still at every training take nuggets away. Just doing 3-way calls with Eric, I've taken nuggets away, and that's why we brought him on tonight to share him with you, because we want you to be able to learn the power of what's out there for you with product knowledge, with business knowledge. All of these are to advance your business forward. And so I'm actually going to ask you guys normally we don't unmute, we just go ahead and say goodnight, but I'd like to just unmute and see if anybody has any questions they'd like to ask of either of our speakers tonight. We can take just a couple of extra minutes here. Is there anyone that would like to ask a question of something? You guys can just hit *6 to actually unmute, or if you hit mute on your phone, just hit the unmute button.
This is Pam. Eric, how long have you been in the business?
Now we can go JR clock or regular time. Because if we go regular time, you're talking just under 3 years. But if there was times where I was sick and couldn't perform, I had pressure sores and couldn't go to some of the trainings. So, I've been actually working the business for probably about 1.5 years, right around that time frame, if you will.
Well, thank you so much for sharing everything tonight. That was very impressive.
Absolutely, no problem. It was my pleasure.
Well, and I guess then I didn't meet you until we lived up here. I feel like I've known you for over 6 years.
No, it hasn't been that long. Yeah, we actually met in, I want to say it was Miami. I think Cullen and Trinity actually introduced us in Miami. And then when you were doing your training here, realized when we really started connecting and doing, but that's probably been 1.5 years, right when I truly started working a business. So probably about 2 years ago is when you and I met.
Awesome. But just like a lot of people, when you find somebody you really relate to, it's like you feel like you've known them for a lifetime. And I feel like that with Eric. It's just kind of like you just get to a point, it's like I feel like I could talk to Eric about anything.
You're stuck with me.
Pick up where we left off. Yep, you're stuck with me too, buddy. Hey, I called you buddy.
There you go.
There you go. It does come out of my mouth. So anyone else have any questions?
I have one more about vitamin D.
Go ahead.
Has anyone ever seen someone that had too much vitamin D?
That's a great question. You can never, ever take too much. You will never overdose on vitamin D. The body will regulate itself. It's really fear of the unknown. A lot of medical doctors will say, you got to be careful of toxicity, but there's been many studies done on high levels. I mean, people that have done 250,000 units of D a day with no signs of toxicity or ill effects. So our product has 5,000 international units in it, and I do have patients that started out at 20,000, so that would be 4 capfuls, and there's been no effects.
Great.
Does that help?
Yes, it does.
Excellent. Well, I appreciate all of you joining us on Memorial Day evening. And, again, this will be recorded. And thank you so much, Dr. Bonnie and Eric, for joining us tonight. I really, really appreciate it. And I know from the whole team and from all of us, we'd like to say thank you.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you, guys. Definitely.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you.
Have a good night, everybody.
Thank you again. Bye-bye.
Night.
Good night.
Bye.